Filmmakers Symposium panel here. We're going to have on our tables the City of Albuquerque Film Office, Karen Criswell, Director Rebekah Wiggins, Distribution Company Herb.tv, Eric Streeper, Writer Ashley Serrao, and film composer music Mariano Saulino. And you guys are welcome to ask any questions that you have. They're going to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about their background in the film industry, and don't be afraid, just hit us up with your questions, and I'm here to deliver those questions for you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mariano, what is your favorite piece of music, and what makes it so appealing?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Sorry.
I don't know. I think my favorite piece of music is the one I'm currently writing, maybe, because I'm pretty creative on my own stuff. So I always think that I have the opportunity to improve. You know, you always have the chance when there's a tomorrow. So that's my thing. I really love to keep on trying to improve my craft on every job I'm into. Every project, it's another kind of universe, you know, because of everything, not only because of the content, but because of the people that is involved. And as composer, we are like, you know, very sensible to that. So we try to get into that universe that every project is. So I think my favorite music is the one I'm writing right now. For example, Sierra Sisters is a project for a company in Albuquerque I really love. And they have given me a lot of freedom to work. That's something that I really appreciate. And the good music comes up when you have such a wonderful team, you know.
They submitted to High Desert screening, by the way.
Oh,
I really
yeah.
like the music.
Oh, maybe the short film, Sierra Sisters, Red Hand Treasure. Because now I'm working on the feature, which is the search, for Blackbeard Treasure. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Check it out.
I bet it is. One more question for you: how electronic, which I think, how electronic means of recreating the sound that instruments produce advanced to the point where a live music is no longer needed? Like, I think. Do you understand the question?
I don't think so. I really go for blending things, blending this different stuff. I love acoustic instruments because they have this kind of feeling that every time you play an acoustic instrument, it's different. Every time you play an electronic instrument, it's like a snapshot, you know, like it's always sounds the same. So it's interesting when you blend both worlds, you know, the electronic world and the acoustic world, because you get the best of both. So I like also to blend styles. For example, orchestral music, electronic music, world music, which is something really, really interesting for film scoring too. I love blending all that kind of different cultures. And orchestral music and electronic music, but I don't think at all that acoustic instruments are gone at all.
Mm-hmm. I love music.
Maybe it's easier to produce. You know, now every fool can pull the trigger. I don't want to be rude with DJs, all that stuff, but you know, I work my ass studying music, and I think the more you study, the more you learn your craft every day. You get better, and if you use electronic music or acoustic music, it's okay. The thing is to improve and go for something more creative, and always in my work, you have to support the story. We're here to help to tell the story. We are not here doing our own music album. We are here to move the audience, to support the whole movie. That's the role.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. Okay, I like this one. Is the script your property or therefore can be changed without your permission?
It depends. You should always protect your script the moment you finish your script at any stage, at the first draft, the second draft, the third draft. Register your script with the Writers Guild. You can also copyright your script. So I'm moving into a teacher hat. Like, protect yourselves, always protect yourselves. If you like sell your idea, then you sell your idea, you know? So it just depends on contracting. So I would always have somebody on your side, whether it would be a lawyer, an agent, a manager, to read contracts clearly, so that you understand what you're signing over. So this is just an example of my experience in that, well, there's several things I can tell you in terms of my experience, and hopefully this will be helpful. But I write for a podcast that's fiction romantic comedies, and they own my stories. So from the beginning, the head writer was like, don't give us anything you love because we own it. We can take it and turn it into a feature film, and maybe we would hire you to write it or maybe not. So that was always in my head when I was pitching ideas, was like, my loves of my life, like those stories, I would probably keep to myself, because I knew up front, like it was always clear up front that that's what the deal was. You know, and in terms of like, you know, I had a pilot optioned. So the paperwork was only for a certain amount of time. So an option is basically like a producer agrees to try and pitch your idea to network and try and sell it, right? And so they're on your team, they're working for you for a certain number of months. And then the contract expires. And then the idea is ours again, right? So it really just depends. So the best advice that I could give any writers out there is to please register your work with the Writers Guild of America. So you can Google it, WGA registry. You can also copyright your work. I would copyright once it's like pristine, like the ultimate final draft, like you're going into production, because that would give you even more protection. Always have people sign an NDA, so you can download NDAs, you know, off the internet. I think even WGA has one, Rebekah has one. You just get people to sign something, you know, if you have actors that are interested, like you're going into some sort of a production, actors, even your cinematographers, I don't care who it is, you're telling them like, you're reading this, but this is actually like, you know, this is mine. And then anytime you're moving into a bigger stage where you're talking networks, bigger producers, bigger money, make sure you have a lawyer, make sure you have contracts and you understand clearly what you're signing over. Because it may be completely okay for you to sign it over and get a payout. Like that sometimes is fine, right? Or sometimes you may not understand that. Like, because they can easily, like if you look at some of those Wonder Woman movies or those bigger movies, like the list of writers, there's like 8 writers on them, right? It's because, well, I don't know, this is a generalization, maybe not in every instance, but it's because they had an initial writer and then somebody read it and said, I think so-and-so is a little bit better at dialogue. Let's get them on board. And there goes the old writer, here comes a new writer. And then, oh, wait, this lead actor doesn't really like this line. Let's get this one and come, you know, so there's a lot of that going on. I think if you have the right protection and the right contracting and stuff like that, then it's just going to protect you even more. And then on more of like a woo-woo level, like an energetic spiritual level, ideas are in the air, like, right? We're alive, we are of creation, we are creators in this panel. All of us are creators, right? And so there can sometimes feel like there's a general theme and you're like, oh, I had that idea. And then that person wrote the script and made it, right?
Yeah.
There's this feeling like you all are like, yeah, right?
Been there.
Yeah, it's in
Wow.
the air. So just be mindful. Like when an idea comes to you, it's coming to you for a reason. You are a vessel. So if you are open and you want to take it, you can take it. It's been given to you and you can do something with it. But it can go to other entities too. So, okay. So that's sort of my belief. And it's not, I know Elizabeth Gilbert talks about this in her book, Big Magic. Like I think it's real for me at least. So, so know that. And anytime you talk about your ideas, like at all, to the barista, to your mom, to so-and-so, I could say something in this panel, right? And about an idea I had, but it's not really ready to be out yet, for example. And then all of a sudden, you might have somebody saying, oh, I heard about an idea. I had a girl said that sometime, so just be careful about what you say. I would say like stories are like embryos, like they are like birthing a child. So if it's not ready to be out into the world, you haven't registered it and protected it and like had NDAs and like, then don't send it out yet, even to your barista. Because you'll have people who will talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, right? And then they still haven't written the script, but they're like, I'm sure a lot of people will have this instance where like you're in a position where you're like, oh, I'm a filmmaker, or I write for movies, or, and they're like, oh, I have the great idea for a movie. Like My Gardener, and they tell you this story about this guy and it's like, it hasn't even been written yet, but you're sharing the idea and now it's out in the world and you have no control over who takes that story and you have no say in that was your idea. So stories are, I think they're sacred. And if they come to you, you take them and you treat them preciously as if they were your unborn child. No pressure. But that's, I think I answered your question. I'm not even sure.
Sorry,
Definitely.
and then one thing, sorry, and then it comes Fox and they say, we want to buy this idea of yours. What do you do?
Oh, if somebody wants to buy my idea?
Yeah.
My
you
idea
let
or
go
my
your
script?
baby just like that?
Oh, it depends.
It's a tough one.
It depends.
Yeah.
I think you need to understand your expectations. When I was early in my writing career, like fresh out of college, and I'm also an actor, I was like, I'm going to write this script. I'm the only person that can play this part. Because I'm the only person that can play this part, I'm going to make it really hard to sell it. That's maybe not the conscious thought, but the unconscious thought. And so I just like had an idea of like exactly how it had to happen. So it never went anywhere. So I think you have to like, what are the non-negotiables? The non-negotiable is that you have to play the part, that you have to be in the writer's room, that you have to X, Y, and Z, right? Or you can say, I'm okay with selling this and making my money, and be on my resume and getting the next gig.
I think it's a process because I think we are hired artists. We are artists for hire. That's our life. So it's a process because you are supporting the final product. You are just a small part of all the process. So I was thinking as you were talking, I tend to keep a few things for me, but maybe for me and my family, to share here. Just that. Every other thing I have to let it go because you have to be part, of all the thing, we create together. But it's a very tough process. Very interesting what you were saying.
Yeah,
I think what Mariano is saying, and this happens in every single production, everything changes as it goes. Like pre-production is one thing, but then while you're in production, you never know. Sometimes you have to adjust things because of tech problems or because of money-wise or acting wise or whatever, and it changed the whole thing. And then post production, editing, it changed things. So we have to be easygoing. So is it Ashley, do you think that's why a lot of writers decide to direct their own thing so that they don't go through that as much? Or
well, I think it gives you ultimate vision. I mean, at the end of the day, you know and see your story the most. And that's why I was like, oh, it's such a thrill to be able to act and sometimes produce my own stuff. Actually, mostly just act. But, you know, it's such a thrill to be able to be a part of then your vision, because then you get to tell the story you intended to tell. So every time, like, your story gets told, in my experience, 3 times. You write it, you've told a story. You have a director who tells a story, and then you have an editor who tells a story. So they're taking your material, interpreting it, So you can't hold too tightly, because film is collaborative. You cannot make maybe you can make a film by yourself. It'd be really hard, but like, you mostly need to have other people. And sometimes you're not going to like the wardrobe choice, or you're not going to be like thrilled with the location. You pictured it like this. But like, to trust in the fact that you're collaborating with people who are also creative, who are also artists, and trusting in their vision. You know, I was thinking about what Rebekah said, that she always collaborates with people that she thinks are kind people.
Easygoing, open-minded, because it's like you said, everybody has a different skill or ways to do things, and you have to know who you're talking. Yeah, trust. Yeah, you have to trust.
Trust. And like, I guess I want to say too, like, just know your non-negotiables though. Like, I remember being in production for my short film, and it's like 3 a.m. We're shooting the main scene of the film, and the director came and was like, wanted to change the entire like climax of the scene into something that it wasn't. And I was like tired, and everyone needs to go to bed, you know, and I'm like, I could just let this go. Or I could be like, no, this is the story. This is the story I wrote. I believe in the story. This is the one thing I can't negotiate. I negotiate.
Yeah, because the audience knows. Yeah, and the audience knows that about your story. They really connect with that, and it's your baby. You know how to take care of.
So know what you're not.
Yeah, and sorry, I think it's not only about being professional. You know, it's about being a team of human beings that take care of each other. And I like what Carmen said about trust, because when I can trust the director, I can write better, because he's letting me, you know, expand my mind, trying to get the best I can for the story.
But even as an actor, even as an actor, sometimes you read something and you're like, this doesn't feel right. And that happens, you know. But it's a tough business.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes, Rebekah.
I think a little bit like the Japanese aesthetic of wabi-sabi, with a lot of stuff too. It's kind of like perfection in the imperfection. So when we're collaborating, no one's going to have a perfect vision come out, even including the director, right? But it's kind of that releasing and surrender to each other and to the group. And that's why it's so important to have team members, and team members, including, you know, your lawyers and stuff who are watching out for your contracts, your agents, your managers, who have the highest interest in mind. And I very much come from like the belief that Ashley does too, of like this kind of higher purpose and calling that we have as artists. And so you just want to make sure that's like, you're not hanging on. I think when I've really run into problems, I've been hanging on to something really tightly. And what I've learned in our work is to trust, like Carmen was saying, and release and surrender. That just made me think of that.
Awesome. Okay, next question is for Eric. How do you make these selections to stream you know, the movies? And you mentioned that it's free for filmmakers to create an account and submit their projects, but how do you make the selection? How do you select the product?
So actually, we made a decision pretty early on that we're primarily software developers. We decided like we should not be the arbiters of content, I guess you could say. And so really, I mean, the people that are making the selections are the way that we structure it on Zurb is that there are a bunch of different channels that are basically portals for content. And so people go to these channels and they watch things that are on these channels. And it's really the channels that they're the ones that are making those decisions. And so we have right now about 190 of them, and so like it's really more, I guess, like up to them. But on the other hand, too, I mean, I think a big part of what we wanted to make sure happened was that if you want to be able to release your content, that you can, that you could even, I mean, you could set up your own channel and do that if you wanted to. And I think that basically for us, we just want to be able to, have people have equal opportunity to these distribution, to be able to essentially control their own distribution. And if, and for us, it's really more a matter of, I mean, you would be working with the channels, you're like, we're not the ones that are telling you like your content, is a good match for this, but not for this, or you should do this, or like those types of things. We're just really trying to make it so that it's an open platform that you can collaborate with these existing channels or your own, and to be able to release content in that way, I guess. So we definitely I mean, I think a lot of what we're kind of trying to go against is sort of like the gatekeeping that traditionally does happen, because it just I mean, honestly, people are fallible, obviously, and I mean, so like people are not going to be able to make anyone who's trying to make that decision of whether or not something is should go somewhere or not. I mean, they're going to be wrong ultimately, right? I mean, you're not going to be able to do that. And so we and especially for us, I mean, certainly we didn't want to be the ones to make that decision.
It's a tough one, huh?
Certainly, yeah, definitely.
Karen, how many people lost the momentum during the pandemic? Please describe what you see coming to New Mexico, and tell us if this is a good time to jump into the film career.
I think it's always a good time to jump into the film career if that's what you love. Because I think anyone who's on this panel can attest to the fact that if you are driven to create, you're going to create. I can tell you that while I was at the studio, I tried a couple of times to stop creating on the side and give myself a little personal space and just go to work and come home and take my paycheck, and it never happened. I always wind up having to create again. So I think that is, if it's what's in your heart, you're going to want to do it no matter whether the time is good or not. And I've had some pretty bad timing. I launched a new endeavor last February that was helping people get their projects into production. And then, of course, production shut down in March. One of the things that was really interesting for us is that even in spite of the pandemic, in spite of the shutdown, there still was, according to the state film office's direct spend statistics, $275 million that went into the New Mexico economy in fiscal year 2020. That's pretty incredible given the amount of shutdown time. And I think we are on track already to do more by the end of the second quarter than we did in the entire last year. My hope is that we'll be back on track with 2018 this year and surpass 2019 in 2022. That's my hope and my goal. There is a lot of projects coming down the pipeline. What's been really interesting about, we had a few big things come in the fourth quarter of last year, Prime October, none of them in Eastwood. But we've had in the first quarter, we're not only seeing the series and the studio projects, we're seeing independent features and short films and commercials and even some emerging media. So to me, that says that the whole entire film ecosystem is starting to come back online. And that bodes very, very well for all of us. So as was mentioned, I think, the story is the key to being successful in film. And I think storytelling is an incredible human gift that we have. And I think there's so much. I know from my own perspective, having created a lot during the pandemic, that I'm starting to work on and get out there. I know there's got to be a ton of material that's coming down the pipeline of artists who really buckled down and put the pandemic to good use and created art. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it. The pipeline looks really strong, both at our city and state level for productions coming into Albuquerque. I'm talking to production businesses that want to relocate here. There's a lot of really exciting things that feel just around the corner, and I'm pretty excited about how we're going to wind up this year. It started off with a pretty good push, and things are starting to pick up, and we've got a lot of things coming in like May, June, July. I think summer is going to be super busy.
So do you know the projects that are coming in until?
I know some of them.
Okay.
But a lot of times we are under kind of an NDA ourselves, especially with studio and intellectual property. The studios, having come from that world, they're very particular about when they launch, when they announce, what pieces of their information that they give out when, about what projects they're doing and where. And so a lot of times we can't speak about the specifics until they have given us permission to speak about the specifics, very similar to a non-disclosure agreement. So, so while I do know quite a few things that are coming in, I'm not at liberty to talk about all of them, but I can say in aggregate, we have a mix of incredible projects coming in, from big studio series to little independent short films and student projects that are coming down the pipeline in the next few months. So to me, that means that the health of the film industry is starting to rebound.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, Mariano.
Yeah.
When you produce the music for a film, for a short film or for a film, how do you, I don't know how to ask this question. It's so kind of like weird. Do you look at the script, or do you look at the movie and
Good
you
question.
start producing as you feel it? Like how do you do it?
Good question. I'd like to write to picture, because a few times they gave me the script to sketch a few ideas. I made my own movie in my mind, and I imagine the actors, the actresses, how they said every line, and once I see the final product, it was quite different. So I really believe in cinema, because that's the final product at the end of the day. So I'd like to write to picture. That said, sometimes we are always rushing in this profession, and they say, okay, Mariano, would you like to do a few sketches reading the script? Okay, I have to do my job, so I have to adapt to that. But I think the best way to write to picture is writing to picture, not reading the script and writing your own movie. That's what I think about that.
So technically, you produce the music when the movie is done.
Yeah, once I get the rough cut, because it's like I feel that the movie tells you everything you need to know to write the music. It's right there. You just have to follow the acting and the story. So I'm like a fish in the water. Once they give me the rough cut, I'm happy, and I'm like writing from Monday to Sunday. I have no problem to stay in the cave. There's no lockdown for me. I live in lockdown since 20 years. Something funny, about this dramatic pandemic that I made you smile. That's all for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's see, what else do I have here? I don't know. Oh, Rebekah, how important is the relationship with the writer? Is there any relationship between the director and a writer?
Well, that depends. Obviously, I have a good relationship with Ashley. I'm the project that I'm directing because she's my writing partner. So that depends. You always have a relationship with a writer. I think it's important to communicate vision throughout as a director, and you're communicating someone else's vision. I predominantly have directed things that I've written. And so for me, that's very easy because I write a lot of, and Ashley knows this too, I write a lot of direction and how I'm going to shoot it in the script. Now, if I'm writing for someone else, I just finished writing a television pilot for someone, and I didn't write a lot of that direction that I would have, the action direction and the camera movements and that sort of thing. You know, I still wrote in a lot of music because I think musically, and I wrote in a lot of music in the script that I would put in there if I was directing it. But I think it's important to have kind of an ongoing conversation, at least between me and Ash and what I'm working on now, on like, okay, like for us with our characters, we wrote a pilot, and you were talking earlier about fleshing out the characters' worlds. We have all of our characters' backstories. I mean, it's like George R.R. Martin kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I know, like, based on who someone is, it's going to change the way they drink a beverage, the way they do the dishes. You know, it's like, so to write something, I think if you stay connected to your writers, you can really pull in way more history, which helps you as a director when you're casting, because you're like, oh, okay, so I know this one came from like a really hard background. She's an 11-year-old kid, but she was like physically abused by her father, right? She had to fend for herself. That's going to be a different 11-year-old. So for me, I find it very important to communicate with my writers. And I always like to go back and ask questions. Well, like, okay, why did this character do this in this scene? And the writer has the history, you know? So then I have something more valuable to give my actors, which just makes for better product. And I think we all know this, but it all starts with the script. You have to have a beautiful, I've said no to directing projects because it wasn't a strong script. And guess what? My name's on that. And I can only elevate it to a certain degree if I don't have great writing. So I think part of your job too, just to add to that as a director, is selecting quality material. Yeah, that answered the question? I think so.
So, Ashley, what do you consider to be your greatest achievement? I don't know, probably they're talking about the best script that you ever wrote. I don't know.
Well, at first I said my son in my head was like my 2-year-old. But in terms of work, to generalize, to just be continually writing. That is a great accomplishment, to be committed to the writer's path and write no matter what. That's what I do. Maybe not every day, most days I write. And that I think was really hard for me. To even like say that I was a writer in the beginning, and then to actually say like, no, this is what I do. I do this no matter what, even if it's produced or not, I just write. So that is a really big accomplishment. In terms of like my stories out in the world, I'm super proud of our pilot, our Western pilot that I wrote with Rebekah, and the fact that we have named talent and that it's, you know, gotten this far is so exciting to me. So I consider that a huge accomplishment. My other like great love and great success is, I think, Dinner Guests, which was a short film that I wrote and produced and acted in. That was in 2017, and we played at Austin Film Festival, we played at Cannes Short Film Corner, we played at Dead Center, and actually sold the film. It's distributed, you can get it streaming online, and like I made a little money off of it, which was cool for a short film. So I think like that felt really complete to me. Like it felt like a really complete, you know, like I saw that project through all the way. I wrote it. I put my heart and soul into it. So I'm super proud of it. And I think it's a good film. So I would say my son, my Western, and Dinner Guest.
That's amazing. This is for Rebekah. You're a woman of so many hats.
Yes.
I seriously wrote it somewhere. I don't know where I left it. You act, produce, direct, and coach. What is your favorite thing to do and why?
Gosh, that's ever shifting. I think as creatives, that's always shifting. It's like what's currently filling me up. You know, my dad's a fine artist and a Western fine artist, and I'm fifth generation artist, fifth generation New Mexican. And I think for me, like, oh, I'm gonna get emotional. I think carrying on my family legacy of story of like my family, but in particular women who've come across, you know, who came across as pioneers. And granted, we were not the first ones here by any means, but my family, that is our heritage, you know? So right now directing really feels like for me, because I can pull in, you know, like I said, I was raised on these beautiful visuals. My dad's an incredible, like I said, New West artist, Kim Wiggins, check him out. And so I have all of this kind of like visual stuff that I grew up on, just digesting in our gallery on Canyon Road. And then I went to music school and I was like, what, okay, I finished I felt like I was a failure. I was like, I finished music school and now I don't know what to do with it. I'm, you know, 20 years old, my life's over. And then I got into film and then acting was really filling me up. I don't believe that you have to just be good at one thing, you know, at different points in my life, different things have filled my soul. But right now I have that accumulation of like the visual stylistic elements of a painting when I look at a screen, plus music that's coming in that has been a part of my life my whole life, plus acting. I can work with actors. I love talking character, and my films are always a character in and of themselves. And so I get to pull all of the things that make me into one piece. And I think that is why directing is filling me up the most currently. And I see how I have been prepared every step of the way by source, by the universe, by God, whatever you want to call it, whatever you call it. I've been prepared at times when I thought I was a failure, when I thought that I had like given up on something. You know, I was working a ton as an actor here. Then I went out to LA 5 years ago, no work. I couldn't even get in an office for one line, you know? And it's like, it was the best thing that could have happened to me, because like we were talking about earlier, if you're meant to create, you can't help but create something. And what we have found during this time is that despite circumstance, if you're born to create, which we are as humans in general, we find workarounds as artists. So we started creating in different ways. So I would say, in a long-winded roundabout way, but it's from the heart, I would say that like directing right now feels truly like the pinnacle of all the things that I have loved in my life so far. I'm sure there will be more to come, but it feels like that pinnacle that I'm getting to express that in work. That's it.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I am technically done with all the questions. Do you want to add something? Do you want to, I don't know, give any information out there? Any advice for filmmakers? Yeah, Karen?
Well, first I wanted to say I felt exactly the same way about directing when I first started directing film. As Rebekah, similar background, music, acting, dancing, did theater, did catering, did all these odd jobs that somehow led me to really love the completeness of directing film. But my advice to young filmmakers is just keep making content. It doesn't matter if it's gray. It doesn't matter if you're using your iPhone. It doesn't matter if you're using GarageBand to mix your music. You know, just use the tools that you have at hand and keep making content.
I love that.
Out there, load it on streaming platforms, Go Deserve TV, you know, put it out on YouTube, put it out wherever you can. Someone will see it and it will resonate with someone. And then the next thing you know, you'll be an overnight sensation.
You're going to be on Netflix. I'll see you guys on Netflix.
Can I piggyback on Karen?
Yes.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I know I just talked. I'm sorry. I think that like there's something so beautiful in knowing that like your voice matters as an artist. We need your voice. We need diversity in voices. We need different shapes, sizes, ethnicities, sexualities, gender preferences. We need more voices. And just because you don't see yourself reflected currently, it's like it was like, I believe it's Gandhi, right? Be the change you wish to see in the world. So that means you stepping out into the light. And by you stepping out into the light and allowing yourself to shine, you then give other people permission to do the same, right? Marianne Williamson quote, I'm full of quotes. So just give us your voice, because we really need it. And as much as you need to create, we need you to create. The world needs you to create. So that's what I was thinking.
So Marianne Williamson, the world does not profit from you being small, or something paraphrasing, but don't be small.
Yes,
Go,
yes.
Go big, go big.
Be big.
My choreographer in college always used to say, you know what, just keep smiling really big, and then if you mess up the steps, no one will notice. And my voice teacher told me the same thing. You know, really belt it. If you miss the note, everyone will hear your mistake. But if you don't belt it, no one will hear you at all.
You remind me of me dancing ballet when I was growing up. Like, I always carry a big smile, and then at the end of the show, my feet were bleeding. So
Oh,
it's just an example. But I look gorgeous, you know. Part of the struggle, part of the, part of everything. You have to work on it. You have to keep going. So yeah. Okay, is there anything else you guys wanna add to this? Yeah, Ashley.
I was just say, but both Karen and Rebekah said, yes, go and do it. Tell your story, but don't wait for someone to give you permission. Because if you're waiting, I think as an actor, especially because you have an agent, I felt like sometimes I was like waiting for a call, or like waiting for my break, or waiting for something to happen to me, like it was going to come to me and be like, oh, there you are, we finally made it. And it's like, just do it. Even if it's at home by yourself in your room, creative energy is moving through you. The world needs it. It is received no matter what. So just, don't wait. It's now. Now is the time.
Eric, you're so quiet. Anything else?
Yeah, I just think what everyone just said is just so good, and I do think I was just thinking about really needing more voices, and I think that's so true, and I think that we're in a really different time now, and I think that actually that technology really is enabling you to reach your audience directly. I mean, so even if you are doing something that is not going to be, interesting to let's say Hollywood or whatever the case may be. I mean, you don't need to worry about that as like you used to. I mean, I think that if you can tell a powerful story that really connects with people, then I think that what you're going to find out is that there's ways to now get that out to people in just ways that were never possible before. So it's a really exciting time, I think, to be in film for that reason.
Okay, so what a blast! I mean, this is awesome. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us, the Filmmakers Symposium High Desert Screening. I just want to announce that the submissions for our film festival, they're open. We don't have a venue yet. We're trying to do a drive-in this year because of the pandemic. Whatever changes they're on the way, we're going to let you know on our Facebook page and our website. These two panels are going to be available to view on our YouTube channel and our website, highdesertscreening.com. Stay tuned. Filmmakers, you're welcome to submit your projects. We are on it now, so this is going to be great. Thank you so much, guys, for joining, for spending the time, and for sharing your experience and your knowledge. We are really appreciate it, and I wish you guys the best of the best.
Thank you.
Beautiful conversation.
Beautiful.
Thank
All
you,
of you
everyone.
guys are amazing.
Really.
Okay.